Habari gani. Today is the first day of Kwanzaa, Umoja. And on that day, on every day of Kwanzaa, we greet each other with the words Habari gani in the Kiswahili language, which means, what's the news? And we say the name of the day, of the principle of the day, on each of those days. So today, the response would be Umoja. So Habari gani, Umoja. Now, the first principle, Umoja, means unity. And for unity, we light the big candle, the big black candle, right here in the center. Go ahead and light that. And today we have a special piece for you a new series we're starting called a Kwanzaa Minute. So we're going to describe the first principle in 1 minute or less. And we're going to do that with a proverbial poem. The title of this proverbial poem is When Spider Webs Unite. For the principle of Umoja, the proverb is, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. And that's an Ethiopian proverb. The first principle is Umoja. Let us all unite as one. It's time to work together, play together, eat together, and be together too. All for one and one for all. When spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. If you hear what I'm saying, then you understand. The time is now to make a stand. All for one and one for all. When spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. Moya mbili tatu, netano sita, sabana ne tisa, kumi na moya. All for one and one for all. When spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. Moya means one. It's where we start, but we're not done. Let's have a little fun by uniting as one. All for one and one for all. When spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. Now, when we finish, we always like to say tuta el nana, and then we'll mention the principle for the next day. So we say tuta el nana, kuji chagulia.
Are you heading out of town or have a special occasion? What about birthdays, anniversaries, or reunions? Get the best deals and inexpensive rental car rates, midsize sedans, compact cars, and more. We have a variety of fleet vehicles to accommodate any and all of your rental car needs. Make a reservation today at your local budget rental car on Hamilton Road in Whitehall. Call 614-863-7500.
Happy Kwanzaa. I'm Carla, and my sister Karen and I own Two Natural Sisters. We've been in business for 5 years, and we sell a line of natural bath, body, and candle products. Let's take a look. Follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, at Two Natural Sisters. All items that are in stock will be shipped within 24 to 48 hours. As a promotional item, we offer a CD of Black romantic poetry of self-love and coupled love, and 50% discount on Sister Locks, Brother Locks by consultant Sapphire Donetta Mahadi. If you have any questions, you can reach us at customercare@twonaturalsisters.com. Enjoy and happy Kwanzaa.
What's going on? My name is Doe. I am the owner and creator of Madeline Gin. Madeline Gin is best described as a celebratory art experience that exudes hella blackness. Initially, the company was founded to provide a luxurious but affordable art experience, and has since transformed itself into something a bit more spiritual. By walking in what I believe to be my truth, I've been able to get in contact with my ancestors and use my platform and my art, my gift, to tell their untold stories. I do that by using different textures, by utilizing different mediums, colors, and just making things pop out so that it's open for interpretation. I love creating, and I can't wait to be of service to you. Thank you.
I am a genius. My ancestors were geniuses. My ancestors have made me a genius in all that I think, say, and do. I must declare myself a genius. I am a genius. Whenever I am myself, I practice my geniusness and do great things. All my thoughts, choices, and deeds must express my geniusness.
I am a genius. My decisions must always be in the best interest of myself, my family, my people, and my God. Only then will I and everyone I know that I am a genius.
I am a genius. At all times, my geniusness must reflect my culture. My geniusness must serve my God. My geniusness must make me be one in love and harmony with my family. My geniusness must protect my people. Yes, at all times, I must demonstrate excellence because I am a genius.
And I want to welcome you to our pre-Kwanzaa celebration, Kwanzaa, Decades in Review. And the first up on our interviews is with Baba Kelsey. Now, Baba Kelsey has a long history here in Columbus, Ohio. And so I will ask him some questions to bring out what his perspectives are regarding these questions. And without further ado, Baba Kelsey, you want to say a few words to the family?
Well, I just say that I'm glad to be able to speak to you. And you're right. I do have a long history in Columbus, and it was very it was a rough history sometimes, because some positions that I would take in Columbus, the work that I was doing so-called professionally, didn't appreciate it, and some of the people who were in the community didn't appreciate it, so much so until sometimes there were disruptions in those activities. But as many of you know, that was sort of the love of my life to work in the community, and I really appreciate each time that I have an opportunity to do that. So that's all I'd like to say right now.
Well, we definitely appreciate your work, and as nation builders, we're trying to add on, build, and maintain your legacy here. And so part of that legacy is giving us some of the backstories on what's gone down here in Columbus. And so during the 60s, Baba Kelsey, I read about it because, I was hardly born yet. There was a lot of stuff going on, not only around the nation, but right here in Ohio. And I could only assume right here in Columbus during this Kwanzaa celebration kickoff. And so why don't you give us a little history there? When did you begin celebrating Kwanzaa? And what were the circumstances around your seeing why this was necessary to do so.
Well, now I'm going to give you a little history that probably I've never shared, but then some people know about it, but I've never shared it with people publicly, with people in Columbus. I had a little program that went down to London prison, and in that program I took a nurse and a student nurse, a student attorney, and we went to and we talked to about 37 men every other Saturday, I believe it was. And the first time that I heard about Kwanzaa was with those men about 1968 or thereabout. That was the first time I heard about Kwanzaa, and it was from one of those men who were in that group, and they're at London prison. And I will say that during the time that we were going down there, those men got so strong until they would provide escorts to me from the time we entered that inner gate to the time that we got to the place where we were going to meet. And the little social worker was just outdone. He didn't know what was going on in terms of our meeting. Now, fast forward. By 1970, many of those men had gotten released. I could tell you some things about the disruptions and the midnight courts and so forth that some of those men experienced, and they were distributed all over the state prison because they felt that they were getting too far ahead on things that they were talking about and the way they were acting in prison, probably acting more sanely than the imprisonment system wanted them to act. But anyway, all of them eventually got out. And I'm proud to say that, to my knowledge, only one out of 37 men, to my knowledge, only one ever returned to prison. I want to establish that the idea of Kwanzaa, the first time I got any idea about Kwanzaa was through that group some of those group meetings there in London prison. Some of them which I will never name because I don't want to name them. But
I understand.
But some of them, they were involved in helping to initiate Kwanzaa as a public activity, first in their homes secretly, in our homes secretly, I should say, because it was dangerous. In case you don't know, I will tell you, it was dangerous to talk about stuff like that, and in our community. So much so until if you talk with Brother Tony, Elder Tony, you will find out that one of the early Kwanzaa, when the drummers were leaving out of the activity one evening, the community beat them up out there. I'm talking about people who look like us now, beat them up because they were supposed to be celebrating something that was, I don't want to say what they were thinking, but whatever it was not correct. But and so we had that. I'm pointing out, it was not an easy task to introduce it into the Columbus community. The real public Kwanzaa came on, I believe it was on not on Creek, on Nelson Road, and at the Dunbar Center, which is no longer there, and we had a curious crowd there, and constantly began to grow and grow and grow, and we encouraged two levels of Kwanzaa. One, we encouraged people to have it in their homes and with their families, and encouraged others to, and we encouraged the public celebration of Kwanzaa. And we became serious. Many people. We started a little school that also reinforced Kwanzaa. So Kwanzaa became more than just a program per se. It became in many ways an action plan for us in our community. Unfortunately, and I'm fast forwarding now.
Yes,
but
sir.
Unfortunately for us, it became commercialized.
Mm-hmm.
And as it became commercialized, most of its meaning, except for very few people, diehards, I guess I've called, it became commercialized and it lost its essence. And I think that, and I guess anytime you hear me talk now, I talk about regaining the essence of Kwanzaa that once it had, in spite of that, and people have all kinds of reasons why they say that they lost respect. One part was that they lost respect for Karenga. Now, you know, Karenga, some of the things we may not agree with Karenga on, but we have to give him credit for having the idea of starting that. And regardless of whether we agree with some of the stuff that he's been involved in or not, we have to acknowledge that wisdom comes from strange places sometimes. And let's use the wisdom and forget about the messenger, not necessarily forget about them, but give them credit for having given that to us, in spite of the fact that they may do some crazy things. And I would say that to us now, let's honor ourselves as we practice something that we know is good for us, in spite of the fact that I may not like your looks or your dress or your whatever, but we have that kind of common thing among us, and we have Kwanzaa to reinforce that. And let's use it as a reinforcing instrument to help us develop in our community. And I say this because I don't want to take away from integration and all these different freedom talks and activities that are out there now. But I want us to acknowledge that those are not things that come from us. We're still operating in the system, regardless of what kind of political opportunities that they say are there. It's in that system which they control, and we don't control that. And so it's important for us to stand up straight in our own Kwanzaa-related systems. Now, I would say Kwanzaa-related because those 7 values, those are critical, and stand up for those and begin to practice those in everything that we do, even if you got to go to the enemy's territory. That's all I'd like to say as kind of an introduction. I know you got some questions, so go ahead.
No, I appreciate that, Bob, because again, I key in on the points of authenticity. And a lot of times, because we have such a difficult time maintaining the authenticity within ourselves, that it becomes difficult to carry that authenticity within the celebrations we take on. And so I can appreciate that. And again, I appreciate that brief history. So of the Kwanzaa celebration, Baba, what has impressed you the most in terms of what one point, if you could, narrow it down to that, has left an indelible impression on you?
Well, one point that we have, one of the things that we suffer from is classism. And one of the things that Kwanzaa does is it eliminates that. It says that we have a common base on which we ought to be operating. And that has impressed me most, where people have been authentic, as you said, if you're authentic as a Kwanzaa, practicing the principle of Kwanzaa, then that classism has no place. And that I think is one of the things that has hurt us tremendously. In fact, the matter is, and one of the things that it has done, it has almost taken on the where some people have used it to establish a class. I'm a Kwanzaa practicer, and you are not, and therefore I'm I'm superior to you in some form.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we need to eliminate the classism and say that brothers and sisters, we all are working for unity. We all are working for Kuchi Chakalia and so forth and so on. And if there's anything in that, that's one of the things that I think is critical for us, because that's what has been used against us, even though even sometimes it's been magnified by a white supremacy and so forth. So I'm saying classism is critical.
The more I listen to you, Baba, the more it sounds like you giving my presentation for me. So, I hear this idea of a superior inferior line that we like to, draw up between ourselves. And Octavia Butler, one of our most well-known sci-fi writers, and she's passed now, Ma'akaru. She wrote a trilogy called what was it called? Lilith's Brood. And it was a trilogy of 3 books. And Baba Kelsey, I could not hardly tell you what the book was about, but that sister left a point that she kept repeating throughout the books that speaks so strongly to what you just said. And it was that you had this space group who had saved some earthlings from themselves. And when the earthlings had started awakening after a long sleep, the space people said to them, "You know what is most puzzling to me about you earthlings?" And of course, the earthlings were like, "What?" And it was said, "Because you are both intelligent and you hold this sense of hierarchy."
Mm-hmm.
And of course, what I gained from that is, a lot of times when we talk about our male-female relationships, and we compare it to the European form of relationship and what goes on with them, and we fail to understand a lot of times, or we forget that it's a matter of the roles we played. It had nothing to do with I'm a male, so I'm superior, or I'm a female and I'm superior. There were roles to play, and it was a matter of function and utility. One of my teachers once told us that it was he referred to mod as functional symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that speaks to. It's a matter of how I function. As a group, we can function stronger than as me thinking that because I know this, that I'm more valuable than you. And so I truly appreciate that, Baba. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think that that it's time that we do a self-diagnosis and not ask anybody else to do it for us, that we sit down ourselves and do our own diagnosis without the hostility that sometimes seems to exist among us. Do it honestly, with an open mind and an open heart, and with love. And we almost forgot, and I might just add that, as I use that word, it's used so in such generalized fashions now, and until it almost had no meaning. I mean, I love you. That's just a function of language almost, without substance.
Right.
And I'm calling for, because we care about each other, because we're willing to share with each other, because we're willing to recognize that I can't do without you. That to me is the kind of love, the kind of thing that makes up love, and other elements as well. But uh, I'm purporting that it would be critical if we considered that kind of self-examination and recognize that we're not going to come out with disagreement. We're going to come out with an agreement. And you all know that I like to talk about that a lot. How in the world is it that we're going to start out aiming for agreement rather than just my voice being the one that counts? I mean, it just I mean, in our community, we've been taught. You know, in the little Kwanzaa presentation that I made, I talked about this moat in our eyes. We've been taught from elementary school through postgraduate school, that individualism and I'm superior because I got this. I'm going to say abstract knowledge. I'm going to. It's not really knowledge. It's abstract factors that I understand how to put together in some form. If we knew how to put them together, then we could generate the love and harmony that we're looking for. That's right. If we became educated, somehow or other, we have not. Those they get taught and presented in such a way that that is almost like tearing up a jigsaw puzzle rather than putting it together. Right. And so that's what I think is important in Kwanzaa. Let it be something that will help put together the jigsaw puzzle rather than me leaving like I've had a celebration and boy, now it's over. Let's go on to the next thing.
Right. I often say, Baba, the practical application of our African wisdom.
Yeah.
That's going to be our move towards success. And with Kwanzaa, and as we here in Columbus say, we say Kwanzaa 365.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way we go about it.
Yeah. And you recognize that you have obstacles, and the healing part is, how am I going to make myself strong enough to overcome them? And that seems to me to be the way. And I'd say, fortunately for you, Brother Kwame, there may be around you people who have like minds. But because we've had such a disparate so-called education, it keeps us from putting those like minds together to bring forth power and strength. And so the truth of the matter is that in my old age, I'm looking for power and strength among brothers and sisters, not just talk.
Right.
And
That's right.
Power and strength doesn't come. You know, I got some grandsons who think that they're going to be professional athletes. And I said, wait a minute. Let's learn something about what it means to be black. Their father doesn't seem to have the same idea about that. So he takes them off to camp. And I said, well, wait a minute. There's some things they don't have down right. What does it mean to be a professional athlete to yourself as an African man or woman? And those are kind of questions that are critical among us that we must ask not only on the 7 days of Kwanzaa, but also ask in our families. If you go to church, ask in your church. If you go to the mosque, ask in your mosque. You got to ask the same question everywhere you go, and be prepared to take action wherever you are, rather than just let it be that I'm celebrating. And even when we say 365, if I'm going to celebrate alone, I'm still lonesome.
Sure, that's right. That's right.
So we when we had those gnomes down the Nile Valley, down the Nile River, they would come together once after the floods, right? They'd come together, they decide. I don't know all the decisions that they would make, But a part of it was so that we would not be in opposition to each other. We would come together after the flood and decide how we're going to survive whenever the next flood comes. I know very critical stuff that they were coming together for. That's what we need to do right now. Come together like those 13 gnomes, I believe it was, along the river, and declare what are we going to do the next 365. Celebrate. In Columbus, you have an advantage in that you do have quarterly sunrise meetings, quarterly, and
Yes.
if those sunrise meetings are designed to celebrate, we've taken this half step and we had to take a half step back because of this opposition. What are we going to do to make sure this step is sustained? That might be the question those are the types of questions that might be being asked that would help us keep going up the steps rather than falling off the steps.
Yes, sir. We're working on it.
Well, I'm just telling you. You asked me now. I'm telling.
Yes, sir.
and you know, no, don't assume that I know, but I know one thing, that if we came together, we could know. We could know. I mean, you got some ideas. Another brother and sister got ideas. Let's put them in the pot. Let's put them in the pot and let them stew. Right. And then let's come out with the good stew.
You know, Baba, you know, we recently got one of these platforms where we can you know, do our own live streaming and things of that nature. And you know, that's part of it, you know, being able to get something we can call our own so that we can talk about the things we want to talk about without being kicked off and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, so this is the first among many steps we're taking.
Well, good.
In order to build up for ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think Columbus is a good example. There are other places too. Akron has got some things going also. Atlanta has some things going, but one of the things I point out in Atlanta is that they're probably, and you may have heard me say this because I don't hesitate to say it, they're probably in somewhere between 10 and 15 different Pan-African groups, each one having a declared purpose, but the purpose are not harmonious.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question becomes, where are we going? Not where is this one going and that one going, but where are we going if we are not harmonious?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that those are kind of serious questions. There's still serious questions that we ought to be raising in Kwanzaa, not just for the celebrated and ceremonial part. I mean, ceremonial part is I certainly I'm inspired by the ceremonial part and the celebration part. But if that's all, then it's I don't think it's serving its purpose.
No, I mean, it's one of the reasons why it seems like I know maybe 3 or 4 of us almost came up with the idea at the same night when we were talking about celebrating Kwanzaa. And, you know, we were all like, well, you know, if this has to be a virtual thing, let's see if we can involve the state in it. And so, you know, we were able to contact Akron, Cleveland, Youngstown, Toledo, Dayton, Cincinnati. I don't think a brother out of Kent State, you know, and bring these people together. So now we're forming stronger bonds between the state in terms of what people are doing in different areas. And, you know, and I mean, it's a learning process for me, but as well, I mean, I can see really good things coming out of it. And so I'm looking forward to see how we direct this.
Well, I commend you for taking that step, and I just say keep it going. Don't let it be a one-time thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. We need that. Once upon a time, that was what we were trying to do in Ohio. It just kind of petered out. It got to be that there were arguments about. I can tell you, and you may know, but I can tell you some of the arguments that came to being. How much are we going to charge the exhibitors? Became a critical. My goodness, boy. I mean, that became a debated issue. I mean, you may think you might think I'm just joking, but I'm not.
No.
It became an issue about, well, I think they're just shamming, and we are not. Well, why don't we talk to each other and help each other? It may be, I talk about the mote in our eyes. We all have to acknowledge that we got those in our eyes. We've been trained. Mm-hmm. We've been with junk in many ways. I'm not minimizing the science part or the universal part that we've learned. That's very valuable, but we would learn to use it as particles rather than as a mass universe.
That's right.
Yeah. So
we often talk about the whole being greater than the sum of its parts, and so that's what we have to assimilate and integrate into our thinking and our being in order to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk too much. I'm glad that you all are doing that, and I say keep up the good work, and every generation needs each other. I mean, there's a place for everybody. Now, I was struggling when I wrote that first book about being healthy and wealthy. What I was trying to do in that book is to say that there are definite things that we ought to hold ourselves responsible for, making sure that each generation takes care of these things within themselves, become skilled and become knowledgeable about these things, and just build that step on up, so that when you feel comfortable in the step that you were in, and moved on to the next step, because they always supportive of each other. I have to confess that I have not. There are a few times that I've seen people really understand what I was trying to do in that book, I'm not the best writer in the world, so I'm not claiming that. But I know one thing, that kind of integrated intergenerational progress and growth is critical to our overall growth and understanding. So,
yes, sir.
Anyway, I'm just saying to us, let's make family have some meaning. Family, the family intergenerationally have some meaning, whether it be bloodline or just cultural wise. Those are things that I think are in critical discussions and presentations in Kwanzaa, and there ought to be accountability for what have we done during the 365 as you referred to.
Ashe. We'll make it happen, as we say. And again, Baba, I appreciate your time. Thanks a million. Please give the family, Mama Nyambe, and the rest of the family my love and our love.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to talk with you. It's always a pleasure. Take care of yourself.
You do the same, Baba. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Watch the next video. Watch the next video. Watch the next video. No, I'm just joking, family. Family, thank you for joining us. Be sure to catch us on the next video, family. Peace. Watch the next video. Watch.
Are celebration worthy because we've done a lot of work in 17. That Facebook page lists all of our activities that we have been doing throughout the year. So as you look through that and stream through that, it's not that we have not been doing work. Many of you all were not on the committee, but you put in work. Lil Ray puts in work all year round, for sure, in many ways. Open Kitchen puts in work all year round. All of you all in here put in work in your own ways. So we'll continue to list that, support that for each other, and talk about other strategies we can use going into 18 to make sure that we continue to celebrate our successes, ourselves, our community, and overall Black love. I just need a whole bunch of love in 2018. Y'all down for that? Yeah, down for that. Down for that. Okay, great. Brother Hatim, you got any other words you want to say about what you're before we bring them forward?
No, it's gonna be fine. That's all I have to say.
I'm telling y'all it's gonna be fine. He wasn't in the room, and he used the same introduction language. But we want to give it a round of applause. Let's bring him up, y'all, with some love. Brother, y'all bring up you people. Don't mind, we get the mic ready for you. And if you want to give it some love, y'all, please. Woo!
You say give something positive with lots of emotion. Well, see, sometimes that's hard because there's so much commotion. So let me start this right off with the twist. Something like this that you cannot dismiss. Check. I was in the motherland minding my business when suddenly I became a victim of resistance. They put shackles on my hands and my feet. My tribe sold me off to some blue-eyed beast. These devils walked me out to the edge of the sea. My mother was behind me, trying to be free. Had my father, my brother, my sister, my auntie. They tied us to a tree, so I fucked, and they stopped me. They put us all at the bottom of the ship, packed us in like sardines, face to face, lip to lip. I'm hearing footsteps up top, on deck. Yeah, they laughing, drinking tea while we down here soaking in sweat. Then I hear the mumbles and the groans from my peers. I smell feces and vomit. I'm drowned in tears. So for 36 days and 36 nights, I fight. I didn't struggle to hang on to life. Come on, I barely make it. I tell you it's a sin. People, we done lost 210. Only being fed water and bread. The sharks in the Atlantic Ocean, they eat up our dead. But I try to scream out and pray for their souls. Allah bless those for whom the bell tolled. So after 36 days, we finally hit land. I'm seeing strange men with some guns in their hands. Right away, they separate the men, women, and children. It's time to start building and killing for pilgrims. But first, they install some fear in you. See, with their wicked little minds, you just check what they did. See, they put us in a circle. We didn't think nothing of it. Then they grabbed one of our queens and cut the baby out of her stomach. The fetus hit the ground, then the mother fell next. But why didn't they write this in their history text? I'm being sold. I wonder where they send you. I went to Carolina, my sister West Virginia. My mother went to Florida. They separated us three. Both my father and my brother ended up in Mississippi. I'm homesick. I'm being broke down slowly. The owner changed my name from Coot to Toby. But you don't know me because I don't know myself. I work the field like a mule and it's messing with my health. I'm being worked from sun up to sundown. I'm getting beat for just uttering the wrong sound. I got lashes on my back. They're gonna stay. I stood up for a sister, but she got raped anyway. And then her brother, he got caught trying to flee. The next day, we found his body hanging from a tree. But see, this ain't no Holocaust. Need affirmation. This here is what they call straight extermination. But see, I try to scream out and pray for their souls. God bless those for whom the bell tolls. The fallen sons and daughters of the West. See, I'm trying to make it right back to the crest of civilization. So I made my escape. But a house Negro told, so I didn't get a break. They tracked us down in a wooded location. Then beat me and took me back to the plantation. Then to ensure that I wouldn't run again, they chopped off my foot and cleaned it with gin. But see, I still try to scream out and pray for their souls. God bless those for whom the bell tolls. I'm your Ring Kalama. where thanks is due.
I know, right?
The committee, I thank you. I always take these very serious, and it's just you giving me your ear because you didn't have to, so I appreciate that. And I think that we have to give another round of applause for Dr.
That's right.
Dr. Jackson. And the reason this is important, and it goes to a couple of the things that I want to talk to you about today. The reason it's important is because one of the things moving into 2018 that we have to start to implement is valuing one another. We don't have enough value for one another. And so when we have somebody with a PhD, a doctorate in front of, we need to acknowledge that. Because at the end of the day, you will go to the white doctor and acknowledge him, Dr. Smith, thank you, Dr. So-and-so. So when we have those within our communities, it's imperative that we acknowledge them. It shouldn't even be something that we think about. It should be something that's automatic and that we have to talk about. And I was talking to Butch Carter a couple days ago about this. And moving into 2018 with everything that's going on right now, with the conditions of our communities, with the conditions of us as a group of people, I'm not really here to talk about the problem. Malcolm, Dr. King, Medgar Evers, Nat Turner, Jomo Kenyatta, and so many others. They talked about the problem. The great Khalid Muhammad talked about the problem. We know what the problem is. If we don't, we've been sleeping up under a rock. I go to schools and talk to the children about the problem. The adults, we know what the problem is. So it's about execution, and that's part of our problem. We know what the problem is, but we don't move, we don't execute. And the reason we don't execute is because a lot of times we're moving on an individualistic level, which is why this is so important. This function right here becomes so important, but I live by a philosophy like when I see my mother. Anytime I see my mother, we practice and demonstrate Mother's Day. I'm not waiting until May to demonstrate Mother's Day. Anytime I see my mother, it's Mother's Day. Every day I see my mom, if I see her, it's Mother's Day. I don't practice Black history the shortest month of the year, February. That's right. Hoping for the leap year with 29 days instead of the 28. No, I practice Black history every day because it's a part of who we are. So we can't practice the 7 principles for 7 days. That's right. A principle a day. This has to be invested in our daily lives every day. And why is that important? Why does it have to be invested in our daily lives every day? Because those seeds back there, we're leaving a blueprint. And we can leave a blueprint that's either negative or positive. See, we can't blame, we have a problem right now with the seeds. How people are moving. Everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's over here. And what has happened? The seeds have followed. They followed a certain code, which was negative. But we constantly, in our community still, every day, no collective unity. No collective anything. Now this is important. This is important because the individual should be building, when we talk about Kwanzaa, when we talk about the principles, building for the collective of the community. Right. Capitalism teaches you something different. Get yours and forget everybody else. Right. The problem with that is that we've been the ones to suffer the most for because all other communities are on code. Right. All other communities are on code. I asked this question: why in 2017, sisters who want to be involved in politics, why don't we have our own Black political party? The Asians don't worry about politics. They don't care who's going to be elected into office. Why? Because they practice collective economics. They practice collective unity. They don't move on an individual level. They move together. So it never matters who's president. It never matters who their senator is. This is fact. They don't care that Trump's in office right now because they're still doing what they're doing.
Right.
And so why in 2017 we don't have our own Black political party? We have Black businesses here. I just did a story the other night on a black grocery store in Kentucky. The only black grocery store in Kentucky, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, where's a black grocery store in Columbus, Ohio? Where's a black grocery store in Indianapolis, Indiana? Why is this important? See, we talk about the principles. We talk about the principles, but the implementation. Why is it important that we have our own? Do you know how important black media is?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Do you know how important black business is?
Yes.
Right.
Everybody who's got a vendors out here, they should have a building that they can put their stuff in that we can go to every day.
That's right.
And it should be open every day. And there should be a time. It starts at 9 and it closes at 9. And no, when I say 9, not 9:15. If you put 9 on the door, let it be 9.
Yes, sir.
Because but why don't we have that? Because we don't value one another. And so that's got to be the measure for this year, 2018, is valuing. The importance of black business is that when you don't have one, guess what? You're dependent on somebody else's business. That's right. And so then when you go to somebody else's business, when you don't have a black restaurant, then you go to a white restaurant. And they might discriminate against you. They might practice racism. What are you going to do about it? We're going to file. We're going to go complain. We're going to cry that we were discriminated against. But one thing that we're not saying is, where's our own? Why is black media important? Because your media sets the narrative. And when you don't have your own black media, that means somebody else is setting the narrative for you. So now, because somebody else is setting the narrative, it's hard for you to get the news that 500 missing black teens in the DC, Virginia area, and this has been going on for years, but we don't know this because we don't have black media that's pushing that. That's right. And the white media is not pushing it. Sure. Every year. So somebody else sets the narrative while we sit back. While we sit back and cry and complain, because that's what we do. And then the babies start to move out, because the babies know that there's a problem.
Right.
So they start to move out, but we sit back. We sit back in a dependent position. That has to change for 2018. It has to change. It's mandatory. And so how do we get there? Strategy. I'm an advocate of and I think, and you know, my mentor, I have two. And I never had a chance to meet them, but through books and writings, I just think that they were just, and there's actually a couple, but these two just, I think that they were just so brilliant. And that's Malcolm and the great Assad Shakur. Because I think that you have to have the yin and the yang. You have to have the epitome of black manhood, but you also have to have the epitome of what black womanhood is as well. And I think that Assad exemplifies that. And there's so many others, Shahrazad Ali, I mean, the list goes on and on. But one thing that Malcolm said that held so much truth is we give our enemies what? Only a fool would give his children up to his enemies.
Right.
And so, you know, sometimes we're looking for places to have events. We're looking for places to have talks. That needs to be somebody's living room. That's right. That needs to be somebody's basement. That's right. That's how we do it. Because why? Because it's important. It's important, and we cannot allow ourselves to be blocked from information. We can't allow that. I do a lot of streaming, Facebook and those social media outlets and that sort of thing. They're always blocked. They're always banning. It's not because I'm saying things that are crazy. It's because I'm saying things that are true. Absolutely. The system is designed. They don't want that information out. It's just the way it is. I get it. I don't get upset about it. What do? I go get my own website so I can put my stuff on there. You don't want me on yours? It's really that simple. So collective. The individual has to move for the collective. If the individual is moving for self, our demise is imminent. It's that serious. If the individual is moving for self, our demise is imminent.
Word.
We're talking GMOs. We're talking vaccines. being shot into babies that nobody even questions just because a medical system tells you that your child needs this, even though we know that since we've been on these shores, they've been experimenting on us medically. But we don't question. We just hand our child over, yeah, take that shot. And most people don't even do the research on what's in the vaccine. Most of the doctors don't even know what's in the vaccine. They sat down, had a $1,500 to $2,000 dinner with a pharmaceutical agency that's trying to push this product, and they say, here, we want you to push this. And they wine and dine them, and at the end of the day, the doctor goes back and starts to push it. So the individual has to move for the collective as a whole. We need Black business. It's imperative. How do we get there? How many times have we heard about Arab shops disrespecting our melanated queens and kings coming in? How many times have we heard about that? And we don't do anything. We continue to go back and shop. And part of the reason we go back is because we don't have our own. So even the thug, who people consider to be the thug, even they can play a role. Right. Yeah. Even if their role is to keep people up out that store. Because guess what? Now nobody's shopping. They go out of business. It doesn't really matter this one that goes out of business because his cousin has a shop 7 blocks down. His uncle has a block 3 dot, because that's how it is in our communities. But once we get this one shut down, we can buy that. It's really not hard.
Not at all.
But it takes execution. It takes movement. It takes a desire to want to survive. It takes a desire to want to see our children come into a future. I talk to insurance. I talk to ladies involved in insurance. Some of the most disgusting things. They say Black parents come in, and when she talks to them about life insurance, what they're going to leave, she said the majority of Black parents say, what? Life insurance? I'll be dead. Would I leave them something? Wow. Despicable. Wow. Despicable. So you got groups of people who are thinking 200 and 300 years ahead, and we're thinking about tomorrow. You got people who are thinking 200 and 300 years ahead about how they're going to leave their children's some wealth. And we got the most genius children, and we don't feed them anything. Feed them a vaccine. Feed them a public school to prison pipeline that is not going to do anything. There's no reason our children should not be able to read by 3rd grade. That's right. Because they've already got a bed waiting for them. That's right. That's right. So it should be our job to make sure that that bed stays empty. And if that means that elders have to get together and teach some after school class, because it's about balance. Right. It's about balance. So if we know our children aren't getting Black history at school, right, which is very important. Important. How can you move forward when you don't know where you came from? How can you be a leaf or a branch on the tree and you don't know the roots from which you came? Right. So it's so important. So we leave them in the public school to prison pipeline. Why don't we have classes at night? That's free. Right. All it takes is a desire, initiative, and moving together as a collective group. Business. Our dollar rotates in the Black community less than 6 hours. I think the longest it stays in the Asian community for almost a month. The Jewish community for like 21 days. I have a Jewish friend, he's an attorney. He says, yes, Urema, that statement is true. When they say that the Jews call you liquid money, liquid assets, yeah, because money pours right out of our hands into theirs. So collectively, why are we having businesses that we are spending with and allowing others? It's not just about us spending. It's not just about us, because that'll only go so far. Even though we do spend 1.6 trillion a year. That's right. We make everybody else rich but ourselves. That's right. While our communities are dilapidated and wretched in despicable conditions. There's a block over there on it's like probably about a block. Mount Vernon. Like 4 churches in a block radius.
That's right. In one block.
In one block.
In one block.
And those are the nicest looking establishments on the block.
Right.
Well, you got homeless up the road.
Yeah, that's right.
Every day.
Every day.
And then on Sunday, they come out, they rush into their cars. They ain't trying to be touched.
They trying to be right. That's right.
It's not a bang on the church. But we're talking about accountability, collective growth here.
That's right.
You can't collectively grow when you're moving as an individual, when you've fragmented yourself from the rest of the population. And that's what's going on.
Yes.
So business, we have to support one another, which is why value is so important. If I do not value you,
Right.
if I don't value you, bro, how am I going to buy something from you? I have to value. It's not even the product, it's you.
That's right.
We don't really want to give our money to Walmart. But sure, what are we going to do? When the first killing started, not the first. I think the first one was Alton Sterling. Then it was like the next day or like 27, 28 hours later, then it was Philando Castile. So they had Alton Sterling down there in Louisiana, and then Philando Castile got killed up in St. Paul, Minnesota. And so people reached out. They were like, Urema, what should we do? I said, well, first and foremost, you got to stop spending money. Why are you going to spend money with the same people killing you?
Right or wrong.
And I understand that, okay, we don't have a lot, which is our fault, not theirs. We've had enough time to build, which is our fault. But stop spending. You should only be spending on needs. Should only be spending on needs, not wants. We have to be disciplined with money. I'm sorry, Jordan's is not a need. It's just not. It's not. Polo Macy's, the Michael Kors bag, that's not a need. Those are wants.
That's the Black Honda.
I need to make an announcement. We got a black Honda with the license plate HHR1521 that's blocking somebody in. It's our black Honda. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So every day you hear stories. Somebody goes into a shop, they drop a whole lot of money. They get harassed. Just had a woman up in I think Grand Rapids, Michigan. Get bucks. What? $6,700 in a tax fit. And they accused her of fraud. Come to find out she's a business owner. Wasn't fraud at all. Once they found out that the store clerk was just on some BS, then they decided to give you an apology. Matter of fact, you can get the stuff for free. We'll give you your money back and give you an apology. She said, no, I want to file a suit. Okay, cool. But shouldn't there be a black tax fit in place for that?
That's right. That's right.
And honestly, value. We're talking value here. And I keep it real. For anybody that's listening to me, we're funny about money.
That's right.
We're real funny about money. We do not want to spend with one another. That's not going to work. That's not going to move us together as a group of people. It's just not.
Right.
It's just not. It's ludicrous to think that we can move forward because it really does take finance to uplift the nation.
Right.
And there's so many valuable things that we have. We're such a creative. I mean, when you think about it, the reality is that everything comes from us. They steal everything from us. Let's just be honest. They take everything. Even the resources are stolen from us. They're stolen from a Gebulon.
Yeah.
And so moving into 218, strategy. We need home-based education for our children. Because you have to offset. You have to offset. We're going to have our children in the public school to prison pipeline, and that's exactly what it is. Then you have to offset that with something. At the end of the day, when your child leaves the home, it's information overload. So that means you have to teach harder. So we have to start teaching. I teach young men when hey, your lady's pregnant, you need to start reading to that child in the morning. That's right. That child can hear. That's right. It can hear. You need to start. If you wait until the child is born, it's too late. That's literally the type of society we live in. Because there's so much information, and children are being born, they're looking around, what's going on? I'm here. So it's about getting, and here's the thing. The system, their premise, they want to get the mind of the child. When they conquered the natives, what they did when they set up the reservations, they went and got the young and put them in their European schools, and then took them back to the reservations. Why did they take them back? They want the natives who didn't go through that system to know this is what you aspire to be. Otherwise, this is society. The mirror image of what we want you to be like. But they did it with the children because they knew the elders wasn't going for it. So they snatched. And once you get the mind of the young, and that's literally what this is a fight for the minds of the young. That's right. Now, for those that, you know, and if people don't care about the next generation, well then that would apply to them. Some people don't, they just don't care. They just don't care. That's right. I'm in the game because I care. That's right. That's right. I'm in it because because we need that 100-year, 200, 300-year plan. And so for us, by us, all of that sounds great. Hashtag we all we got. Those things sound great. They sound beautiful. The games to be sold, not told. That it all sounds great. It sounds good. But if you're not implementing, if you're not executing, then it's just talk. It's just talk. And so again, to execute, it has to be implemented every day of your life. When you wake up in the morning, it has to be, I'm looking in the mirror, Black history. Lesson for my child today. What is going to be the lesson for myself today? Every day. Principle. Every day. What is my purpose? Every day I'm thinking unity. Every day, collective group economics and responsibility. What is my responsibility to not only myself, but the community involved? What is my responsibility? Every day, what is the reality of what I'm dealing with? Who's going to get it and who's not? And we can't let that be a deterrent because we're quick. We're very quick. We're like this. We go in for a bank loan. We don't get it. We try another bank. We don't get it. And I'm through. Banks ain't giving up nothing. That's how we move amongst one another. I try to talk to this person, they don't get it. I try to talk to them, they don't get it. Man, I'm through with this. Me, I'm the type, I'm going to all 1,000. If there's 1,000 banks in the state, I'm going to all 1,000 until I get a yes. Because I think the odds, you're going to more, I think I'm going to win. That's right. I have a philosophy. There's 7 billion, if there's over 7 billion people on planet Earth, somebody's going to say yes. Somebody, I just got to find them, but somebody's going to say yes. And so we can't be so easily swayed and give up. Right. That's right. Because you got a lot of knuckleheads. That's right. You got a lot of knuckleheads. Right. But the reality is this, you got, with all the knuckleheads, with all the ratchetness, with all the stupidity, Fidel Castro started a revolution. Sure did. With 8 people. Sure did. With 8. Shook it up. And with what president since 1959 until he stepped down? Yeah, 8 people. Right. So it don't take many. That's right. But the ones who move as a collective, we have to do that. We have to. And again, the problem, we know what the problem is. We're disunified as a group of people. We don't value one another. Because if we did, it would show. These once-a-year events, they're great. They really are. But we should be doing this every day. 365. Exactly. Exactly. That's right. And the concept of coming together, we come together when there's a dead body. Somebody's gotten shot. And we want to scream on the police. But we're not coming together when there's no dead body. We need to come together just to come together. We need to come together just to sit down and talk. That's right. Talk can be heavy or it can be light, but we need to be doing it together. Why? Because we need to start getting used to that. It disgusts me walking through the community. People don't even say hi. That's what people was like, they walking. And either that or their phone is glued to their hand. So the phone has become connected to the body now. That's a white person walking through this. Oh, exactly. Exactly. How you do exactly? I go to Lincoln Cafe periodically. And so whenever brothers come through the door, and I'm a people watcher. So whenever brothers come through the door, or anybody melanated comes through the door, people is looking. Who is that? What do you do? White man or woman comes through, nobody pays them any attention. They might be the ones there to kill you. I don't care. But nobody even questions it. Right. That's a psychosis we got. That's a sickness. Where we can be in our own community and we look at each other and are very territorial. But those who don't even occupy our community, unless they come to try to gentrify it, those who don't occupy it, we don't even question. Right. What you do. Right. Security. It's security. Security. I was down on a work site at Poindexter. The project they built it. White dude just comes up with a damn Confederate flag on his truck. Right. Brothers ain't saying nothing. Nothing. But step on their shoes. And this is the sickness. This is the psychosis. So we got to call it out. And then we have to execute. Men have to go out in the community. That's right. Men have to be in the community. It's imperative. It's imperative because why? If 50, 60 men come walking through the community, it's different than one or two. Right. 50, 60 men come walking through the community unified. That's right. Youngsters is looking, damn, what's going on? Because we want to know, we want to be in everything but calm. So everybody's what's then you can spit something to them. You can give them something. This is what we're doing. We're trying to clean up this community. As a matter of fact, get that piece of trash up. Why is that piece of trash important? Because it reflects on what you think about your community. If you're throwing trash down in your community, let's go to Upper Arlington. Tell me if you see any trash. Then you'll know what I'm talking about. Gahanna, New Albany, all of that. So how you feel about it, these are small things. Just little things. But we look at them and it's like, or it's somebody else's problem. It's not somebody else's problem, it's our problem. Because we live here. I make it a point. Open sister be like, sure, open the door. I'm just opening the door for you. Because that's what men do. Okay. Thank you. No, there ain't no catch. Ain't no catch. I ain't trying to get nothing.
Sexual assault. That's sexual assault now.
I've been guilty of it.
I'm guilty of it too. It's dangerous to be a gentleman.
Yeah, exactly. But these are things that we've gotten away from. And they say that the first how you can tell in society when it's declined is the lack of morals. When the morals fly. They tell that's how you can tell when a society is about to go out of power and somebody else is about to take over. The first thing is morals. That's right. And so and so strategy. We need to be getting together. I have a program. The acronym is called PLEAS. PLEES. I pose a question to you and I talk about that. Black political party. Why don't we have our own black political party? Well, this is important. We've been here long enough, we should have our own. We know that the Democrats and Republicans is the fraud. They've done nothing for us. Right. Absolutely nothing. Neither party. And the only time they come is when they want to vote. And once they reach their agenda, which is our vote, they give us nothing back in return. But I mean, I would do that too. Right. If I could just take something from you and not give anything back in return, if you're going to allow it, well, I mean, hey. So why don't we have our own black political party? So PLEAS stands for PLEES, our black political party. Land. Land is imperative. Why do we live in communities for 30 and 40 years and we don't own anything in the community? And they complain about gentrification. Part of the reason gentrification takes place is because you don't own anything, so somebody else comes in and buys. Now, I know that there's eminent domain as well. Right. But what we're talking about is communities where you live in a place, an establishment, a building, and you don't own it. And so then people say, well, I want it, because they see value. We don't see value. They see value. So even all around the country, you see white people gentrify. They want the city back because they see value. We don't. Even under the trash, right? Even under the trash that is on the ground, they see value. Right. Yeah, exactly. So land. So you got black political party. You got land. Economics. That's the E. That's the first E. Economics. Economics deals on a whole gamut of things. You're talking cryptocurrency now, but you're also talking black banks or black credit unions. And when we talk economics, we're also talking about black accountability. Where are dollars going? How can these dollars be levied out if you are dealing with a black financial institution? How is this money levied out? And we're going to make you accountable for the levying of that money. Because what white businesses or white financial institutions do, they levy it out to their people. So even when you come in, when you see in the community black construction teams, a lot of or white construction teams, a lot of them got that money levied to them through white banks, white financial institutions. Absolutely. So we need black banks, black credit unions. We need to hold them accountable. That's right. Education. That's the second. Education. That's the foundation, or at least one of the foundations. And I'm not talking about the academic European education. Our children need knowledge of self. That's right. They need knowledge of self. It's a shame in 2016, last year in Virginia, last year, they did another study with the black and white dolls. And not too much has changed from when that study was first done in 1954. Yeah, exactly. It's gotten worse. And it doesn't help that you got brothers and sisters out here skin bleaching. So it's now moved from Octavia, Africa, and Jamaica to over here. Right. So education, but it's got it. You can't expect the school system to educate, give our melanated children the education that they need. We have to do that. I do leadership training periodically. They asked me to do leadership training because some of the teachers that come from the suburbs, I have to let them know that our children are different. And it's a good thing. That's a good thing. And so you can't treat them like you treat them suburban kids because they come from a different area. It's trauma, everything. We have yet to heal. We have yet to have a healing session. Healing. That's right. So important. That's right. Our people were kicked out of the bowels of a slave system that was so atrocious, so horrific, and we were just told to make it. We're going to sit down from a psychological standpoint or talking amongst one another. And that's part of the psychosis. We don't talk, we don't communicate because we're all traumatized. All of us. Now, we might not want to admit it. That's right. No. But I know I'm messed up. How could I not be? How could I not be here in a system that every day I'm under attack? Right. And that's real. We just got to admit that. We are under attack. Our communities are under attack. And so education is very important, but the key foundation to it all, spirituality. That's what the S stands for. No, I did not say religion. I said spirituality. That's right. Because spirituality, that's the essence from there. That's the essence. We come from the essence of the divine. Right. Before there was any religion put on top of that. Because the divine didn't put no religion on it. The divine is just the divine. That's just that energy. So man had to come up with something. Yeah. He had to come up with something in his finite thinking. And then in that finite way of thinking, he said, well, I can put some controls on this too. So I can mass control people, right? So we have these divided religions and all. No, what we're talking about is spirituality. So then that way, if see, we have to because we have to cut out all the barriers that divide us. Right. So instead of, well, I'm Muslim, brother. I'm Christian. I don't really mess with the Christians. I mean, you that. So we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's right. That's right. So whatever your religious affiliation, let's talk about this spiritual affiliation that we have. We're all interconnected. I'm interconnected with you, brother. I'm interconnected with you. We all have that interconnection. That would be the barrier that breaks down to where now we can talk. We ain't even got to get on the religious side. We ain't even got to go there. Matter of fact, once we get our communities back right. Because at the end of the day, here, why is it important? Why is black politics important? Because if you're going to be here, right? Let's talk. If you're going to be here, if you're not talking about moving to a Kebulon, being up under a black government, a black regime, which in some cases even that can be right. Come on, say it. I want to talk about Zimbabwe and how they just sold out. Yeah. Right. So even sometimes those black regimes, right, are just as bad. But let's not get it twisted because they will tell because again, see, we'll focus on that. We'll focus on that. It's easy to focus on us because we feel powerless to focus on anybody else. We feel powerless to go up against anybody else. But the truth of the matter is that many melanated people will call out African governments. Okay, that's great. But what about that 362 billion in gold that Queen Elizabeth has in her vault over there, stolen from a Kebulon? How about it? What about this U.S. government that brought drugs into the community? CIA has admitted that this was done, but you still got melanated men, women, and children incarcerated. So don't tell me about an African government that's corrupt. All these governments are corrupt. Let's not just focus on the one because it's easy, because it's somebody that looks like me, because we do that as well. So 2018, that's all got to stop. And I'm not saying don't hold people accountable. But if you're going to do it, don't pick and choose. Let's do it across the board. Everybody accountable. Those that look like you and those that don't, more so. And then understand that those that look like you, while you're making them accountable, there's a reason for that. And it predates those that don't look like you. Conquerors. So, Black political party, it's important if you're going to be here. We need our own party. Need our own party. Yes, PL. Politics. Land, economics, education, spirituality. What's the last one? No, that's it. That's it.
So it's 2 E's.
It's 2 E's. Instead of please, PLEAS. E. It's PLEES. Yeah. And so Black political party, we need to be looking at that. So we need to be executing on that. Why? Because you might say, well, what's the possibility of us getting in office? Well, what's the possibility of us getting in office now? But you have more negotiating power. Because if the vote is really that important and you have your own party, then you can at least negotiate the terms. You can have your own Black lobbyists too. You can hold your own political leaders accountable, just like they hold theirs. So when they go for votes and stuff that we don't even hear about until after it's done, and they just vote our lives away because one of their politicians has been caught in a very compromising situation, and he don't want those pictures or those tapes or those videos exposed, so he goes along to get along. Well, strategy. Set up your own party too. But if you're expecting somebody else to do something for you, and that's why we continue to lose, nobody else is going to do the job that we need to do. Nobody is going to teach our children the way that we can love others like we love ourselves. Exactly. Nobody. As a matter of fact, they're going to disrespect you. That's right. Because we disrespect each other. So this year is about Black love. That's right. Black love. It's about valuing one another. And really seeing value. Really seeing value. Because we're valuable. Everybody say that. We're valuable.
We're valuable.
We are valuable.
We are valuable.
I see value. I see the orb, the shining light. I see value. I see value. I see value in one. And we have to take this out with us. And then when you're out and you don't see any of us, but you see another brother or sister, you got to see the value in that. Because once we start to see the value in one another, then we can start to connect. Then we can start to connect. We can start to communicate. We can start to talk. Period. So important. We also, the value is so important too because what I see out here, I need to see that in the building. But it's going to take us as a collective to make that happen. Pop-up vendor things, that's cool. But wouldn't you like a place where you could actually go and know that it's there and know that it's ours? It's value. That's what we have to push. That's how we have to move. And what's it going to take to get there? It's going to take us sitting down. It's going to take us sitting down, not once, not twice. This is a lifelong journey. Exactly. So it's going to take us sitting down and talking. And it's also going to take the reality of this, your revolution. Because this is literally what we're talking about. The reality is that you might not see the win. You probably won't. But at the end of the day, you're in it because you want to get it started. Because you know the value of our children and their children and their children's children's children that are coming after. So you set the pace. It is. It is. And so that has to be 2018. Let's make that the measure. I do these things around the country called Unity Walks. As a matter of fact, they got one that they're doing February 10th in San Diego, California. But I came up with that concept because I want spaces for us to get together and kick, network, talk, build, heal, cry, be angry, talk about issues that affect us. We got issues in our community that we have to talk about. There's still issues with dark skin and light skin. There's true. As trivial as it might seem, those are still issues in our community. Yeah. There are issues that women feel slighted. There are issues in our community where women feel like, damn, bro, all you chase is white women. Right. Those things need to be talked about. See, we cover too much, we brush too much up under the rug. There's children issues with their families. You molested me. That's right. Those things need to come out. Because why? Because we keep that stuff bottled up. Right. And then we have resentment towards one another. And so when you have resentment towards something, you can't see value. Right. If you resent them or resent others that look like them. Right. We got things we got to talk about. We got issues to resolve. And sometimes that's the therapy. It's just getting it out. Acknowledge, no, this is what happened. This is what I'm going through. I say, they got AA and NA and all of that. Why don't we have our own group? That's right. Black women should be having groups talking about issues. Black men should be having groups talking about issues. That's right. Brother can't be afraid to say, yo, man, my dad molested me as a kid. And not be shunned for that. Right. Not be looked down or made fun of. Wasn't your fault, dude. Wasn't your fault. Wasn't your fault. Then maybe some others come out. And so, you know, we do the unity walks around the country. And the purpose I set that up because we can't always be coming together whenever there's just a dead body. It's too late. It's too late. We got to come together before there's a dead body. Because maybe if we're coming together before there's a dead body, we can stop dead bodies. And then at the end of the day, too, when you look at other communities, the divide in our community is just, it's noticeable. It's so very noticeable. It's even noticeable by other groups. It's noticeable. It's ridiculous that people can come in our community and set up shop and not even be questioned. Or taxed. I'm from New York, man. I could not go to Chinatown. You can't go to Chinatown and set up shop. You can. You're going to be out of business because they ain't shopping with you. And they got a code. The Asians got a code, literally. Like, yo, you can spend money with us, but we're not spending with you.
Walk 400 blocks around you and spend time with them.
Yeah. You can't do that. You're not going to go into little Italy and set up shop and get any business. But we let Arabs, we let Indians, we let Arabs, and that was the Arab slave trade was even worse than the European.
Yes, it was. It still is.
Truth to power, and it still is.
They still selling.
It still is. Some of the dynamics that we are up under right now. Some of the dynamics that we are up under. When I talk about those over 500 children, black teens in DC, Virginia, that's missing, organs are being stolen out of bodies. They're literally siphoning blood out of black bodies. And this is real. This is stuff you can look up. I'm not talking on. I'm talking on what I know. That's right. The founder of PayPal, he gets blood injections from Austin. The founder of PayPal. And he says the younger the children, the better because they don't have all the impurities that adults do. So this is literally what we're up against. They've estimated that there's 36 million people are worldwide enslaved. They just cut they had 36 million worldwide slaves. Whether they're in somebody's basement over in Dubai, whether it's organ harvesting, whether it's sex slaves, right? People come up in our communities missing. We don't have an Amber Alert for us. No. Every time my iPhone goes off for an Amber Alert, it's never a melody. Never, not once have I seen it. But yet we got children coming up missing out of our communities, and we don't question. How do you have over 500 melanated teen children in the DC, Virginia area, and you're not screaming about it? We're not screaming about it. Even if we in California, we should be screaming about that, but that's how divided our communities are. Because the Asians would be screaming about it. But what's going on with our children? The Jews would be screaming about it. The Ashkenazis. So this is why we have to see the value in one another, because nobody else is. Nobody else is. They love our culture, but they don't love our skin. So the culture won't. They'll come in and steal something real quick. Including you. Including you. Exactly. Right. Including you. I mean, sometimes when I drive late at night, I see vans with no windows running. They're sitting in Walmart parking lots. We got just one van. There'll be 5 or 6 of them. No windows on them. I see the steam coming out the back of the engine. They just running, tinted windows, can't see. Then you hear about people getting snatched. Oh yeah, my daughter got snatched. This is what's going on. And so this year it's about valuing one another. Value. And strategies. Let's open up some people's homes. Let's open up some community centers. There's 6 degrees of separation in this city. So everybody knows somebody who knows somebody else. Let's open up some doors and have these conversations. And then most of all, execution. Because we know the issues. We just have a hard time getting up off our butts and moving out. And that's what it's going to take. execution. Value. And again, I will say, if we don't value one another, who else is? If you don't love self, who else is? Besides mom. And it's a long haul. It's a long haul. We should have, you know, it's a damn shame. We should have a black gas station that we can go to. Right. And make no mistake about it, the blueprint is here. So we don't need a new blueprint. The blueprint was, look, Marcus Mosiah Garvey laid the blueprint. Malcolm X laid the blueprint. For economics, Dr. Claude Anderson, Powernomics, laid the blueprint. So the blueprints are here. We don't need a new book. What we need to do is cipher on the books that are already here that we might have missed some chapters. Right. We skipped over. Because the blueprints are here. We don't need no new books. We need to implement what's already been there. Dr. Claude, he got the tier for Powernomics. Black Boulay kicked him out of Detroit. Blocked him. He wanted to start with Detroit, block to block, and show you, set the blueprint for you. They kicked him out. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. And that will continue to happen unless we collectively say, no, we value one another. We value. We're not going to allow it. So I don't want to take too much time. I'll be quick. Is there any questions? You can connect with me on my website. I brought cards with me. I will have to go get them, but you can connect with me on www.curriculum.com. Also, as far as the Unity Walk, you can go to the webpage www.theunitywalk.com. It's the put in just Unity Walk. I think something will come up with Alzheimer's or something. Yes.
Okay, is it possible that walk, can we start a walk here?
Absolutely. I've actually had about 6 walks.
Okay, well, that's something. A little bit more on the walks, and what we can do with kind of how you do the walks.
Okay, well, I started the walks last year. We had the first one last 2016, I think it was June of last year. Had it in Franklin Park. The walks is basically summertime. We're going to do it outside, and all the ones that we've had that have been in the summer we've had at Franklin Park. Otherwise, I have them in the library. And like I said, it's just for us to get together. It's a place for melanated people to get together. I set a date, a time, a location, and we just get together and we talk and we build. And then we try to, what is the main thing is trying to get people to bring somebody back to next time, but also setting up agendas. And so when you come back the next time, then you report on what you did, what you implemented. It's just things about execution.
So it's not necessarily a walk per se.
It's really a get together. But I call it the Unity Walk because here's the thing. And Dr. Claude talks about this. And they actually had a law in 1705. Here's the thing. And it's still probably active today, even though we don't probably look at it like that. But the fact of the matter is, they say wherever there's 6 or more black people gathered, there needs to be 1 white person, because they want to get that information. They want to know what we're talking about. And so when I started this, I said, well, if a group of people, if we're all gathered, we had a walk in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and we were down in the downtown area, and literally it was a group of us, and the white people that were passing, it was like, and this lets you know that it gave me a clear-cut picture of really how our community is, because they were so surprised. Some of them were frightened, You can see it on their face. Some of them were walking by like, because that's a problem. Right. That's a problem whenever a group of people can walk by and be surprised to see Black people congregating together and not fighting. That's a problem for us. That's an issue. That should be normal. That should be, people should be walking by, and keep it moving, because it should be just that normal for them to see melanated people connect. And so I do the walk because I wanted to make sure, like, if it became an issue with a whole bunch of us, well, we can walk. So when the police get called, we're out in the park, we're walking. Right. When they see a group of Blacks. Right. And it's a shame, but it is what it is. So that's why I set it up like that.
That's very smart. Very smart.
So,
do we have any other?
Are you heading out of town or have a special occasion? What about birthdays, anniversaries, or reunions? Get the best deals and inexpensive rental car rates, mid-size sedans, compact cars, and more. We have a variety of fleet vehicles to accommodate any and all of your rental car needs. Make a reservation today at your local budget rental car on Hamilton Road in Whitehall. Call 614-863-7500.
Happy Kwanzaa. I'm Carla, and my sister Karen and I own Two Natural Sisters. We've been in business for 5 years, and we sell a line of natural bath, body, and candle products. Let's take a look. Follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, at Two Natural Sisters. All items that are in stock will be shipped within 24 to 48 hours. As a promotional item, we offer a CD of Black romantic poetry of self-love and coupled love, and 50% discount on Sister Locks, Brother Locks by consultant Sapphire Donetta Mahadi. If you have any questions, you can reach us at customercare@twonaturalsisters.com. Enjoy and happy Kwanzaa.
What's going on? My name is Doe. I am the owner and creator of Madeline Gin. Madeline Gin is best described as a celebratory art experience that exudes hella Blackness. Initially, the company was founded to provide a luxurious but affordable art experience, and has since transformed itself into something a bit more spiritual. By walking in what I believe to be my truth, I've been able to get in contact with my ancestors and use my platform and my art, my gift, to tell their untold stories. I do that by using different textures, by utilizing different mediums, colors, and just making things pop out so that it's open for interpretation. I love creating, and I can't wait to be of service to you. Thank you.
I am a genius. My ancestors were geniuses. My ancestors have made me a genius in all that I think, say, and do. I must declare myself a genius. I am a genius. Whenever I am myself, I practice my geniusness and do great things. All my thoughts, choices, and deeds must express my geniusness.
I am a genius. My decisions must always be in the best interest of myself, my family, my people, and my God. Only then will I and everyone I know that I am a genius.
I am a genius. At all times, my geniusness must reflect my culture. My geniusness must serve my God. My geniusness must make me be one in love and harmony with my family. My geniusness must protect my people. Yes, at all times I must demonstrate excellence because I am a genius.